Welcome back to another episode of Colton Posey Fishing, and today we're going to talk about fishing Bear Creek Lake. Now, those of you that are not familiar with Bear Creek Lake, it's a little town on the other side of Haleyville. You got to buy a permit to fish it and stuff. It's not a huge lake, but it's not a very small lake either. I grew up fishing there. It's a great lake, and we fished a small tournament there Saturday. So I'm going to tell you all what we did to catch those fish and several other things. Hopefully, you'll catch a few more fish out there. Stay tuned. Off, we're going to talk about baits. Now, the baits that I used to actually catch the fish and what was going on, we had a lot of schooling fish. So during the summer, especially on a spotted bass fishery, Bear Creek is a lake that has a lot of spotted bass and a lot of largemouth bass, more spotted bass than largemouth. So what typically happens, you have these schoolers everywhere just jumping everywhere. They're really, really hard to catch to some people, and there's a couple of little tricks that you can do to catch these fish and target these fish. And one of the ways that a lot of people do is with a fluke. Well, a lot of times a fluke doesn't work, so you want to use something to match the hatch, something really small. You got to think the shad is done spawn. Most of the places that you're fishing has threadfin in them, and threadfin are really, really small once they hatch. And one of the ways that I target these fish is real simple. I've got 12-pound fluorocarbon, and this is a 13 fishing Defy Black rod. This is just a cheap little rod that I picked up just to give a shot. I bought a cheap reel with it. I wore the fish out this weekend on it. We caught I don't know how many fish, but it's a 7-foot medium moderate action rod. It's actually a cranking rod. And what I've done, I've got a 3/8 ounce 4x4 little jig head, and it's got a small hook profile, but the 3/8 ounce, what this does, it allows me to make a super, super long cast and get right on top of those fish. And it's just got a little screw lock on it. And what I like to throw on it to match the hatch with those little thread fin is early in the morning, I'll use a white 2.75 Rage Swimmer. And what the 3/8 ounce head typically does, it makes it to where I can actually burn this bait closer to towards the top of the water, so it looks more like that school of fish. And a lot of times those schools will actually follow this. So what happened later on the day, Bear Creek has got a lot of, it's not necessarily clear, but it's not dingy either. It's kind of a greenish color of water, but it's clear to the fish. So once the sun finally got up and everything was good, I swapped to the 2.75 Green Pumpkin with a pearl belly. I'm not saying you got to use this exact color, but something similar to that, something that looks really natural, it helps a lot. So another thing that I did to catch several fish, well, most of my fish, this is just a Spro rock crawler crankbait. This is the 55 model. So it dives down to about 10 foot, and I was just banging this thing off of everything. And I'm throwing it on a 7-foot medium cranking rod by Duckett. This is a Green Ghost. I like the Green Ghost rods. They're really, really affordable. And then you also got the Daiwa 6/8 to 1 gear ratio reel. I prefer the slower gear ratios. That way I got a lot of torque. I can pick those fish up as fast as I need to. Now the last bait that I used to catch these fish, real simple setup. Most people are used to it, but I use a different kind of shaky head. This is a spot sticker shaky head. And one of the things you might notice, it's got a super long hook on it. It's the screw lock, but it's also got a vertical line tie. So what that does, that allows me to go through grass, rocks, wood, anything that I need to. And my setup actually is a 7-foot medium laser SG1 loose speed stick. It's a real affordable rod, works perfect. Got a little Lew's American Hero spinning reel. I like them spinning reels for the price. Now the bait that I actually put on my shaky head, this is a Magnum shaky head watermelon red worm. These things right here, typically what I do this time of year when the fish get real lethargic, when the fishing really, really slows down, I let that bait hit bottom, and as soon as my line goes slack, I sit there and shake it. And most of the time, that's when they're going to pick it up, is when you're sitting there shaking it. And I don't see real good. I don't see as good as I used to. So I actually use the high vis braided line, and I go to a fluorocarbon leader. And what that does, it eliminates stretch, that eliminates where I can cast a lot further, and it gives it a lot more sensitivity. So There's a multitude of things or reasons why you use braided line to fluorocarbon. So guys, that's what I did at Bear Creek Lake. That's how we ended up in the top 3. I appreciate y'all watching. Don't forget to go down there and hit the like button and subscribe if you want more content. We'll see you next time.